first thing I'm going to tell you with trolling, and people need to hear this, because I respect every kind of fishing. I don't care if you're casting, you're bass fishing, you're fishing with live bait. I don't care. Whatever it is that you want to do, I don't know of a tournament that's ever been won, salmon or trout, that was a non-troller.
So Eddie Mackin is still running the red-eye trips. He's running the pontoon boat trips, and he's still running his trips from his low all at once. Not sure how he's doing it. He's working basically almost 2 or 3 trips every day plus his regular job. He continues to just post reels and content every day. He's doing great. I mean, I don't know what else really to say.
Has he cloned himself? Is that how he's getting all these trips in, or has he quit his other job? Like, what's going on?
No, he actually had the night off Wednesday, and I called him because I went fishing Wednesday, and it was like the one day he wasn't fishing, and I called him at 8 o'clock just to save myself some legwork. Like, Eddie, I'm not driving around looking for him. Like, just tell me where they are. And I just heard and he's gone. Like, incoherent blithering and gone. So Mackin continues just to catch fish while he's conscious and then go into a slumber of some kind, and that's it. So The fishing there, I think the surveyor fished with him last week just before he left for Florida on another red eye. I know Kronk just went on another red eye. I saw him on the pontoon boat with a bunch of kids. So Mackin's ripping lips fishing trips. I almost got it that time.
Almost.
Call Eddie Mackin if you're looking to fish Lake Apacon.
Almost got it, Joe.
Almost. Hello and welcome to episode number 61 of the NJ Multi-Species Podcast. I am your host, Joe Santiago, and as always, my partner, Chris Pereira.
Damn you, Joe.
Chris Pereira. Okay. Let's get right into the fishing report. Tonight's guest is Mike Herman. We are going to talk trolling and other fishing tactics with him. Probably going to be a long one, so we're going to try to get through the fishing report fast. I went fishing Wednesday with Max and Thomas Wyatt. Thomas Wyatt came up all the way from the Pine Barrens. He fished one of the rivers for bass while he waited for me, basically, to get out of work and then meet him. It was like a 2.5-hour drive for him. I was very nervous. So was Max, because we knew this guy was driving all the way up. The fishing's kind of been hit and go lately. One night's hot, one night's
or hit and miss.
Hit and miss, hit and whatever. I don't know. It's bad and good. One night it's good. The next night it's all weeds. The next night it's good again. Then it sucks for no reason. It makes no sense. We got lucky.
We got hit with the biggest heat wave early in the season. I can't remember ever getting hit with a heat wave this early in the season.
Well, I was predicting that was why I was pushing. I'm like, guys, I sent a group text. I'm like, listen, it's a heat wave. The water's on. Mackin had texted me that Monday night he had done phenomenal. So I said, it's hot as hell. Let's go. He's coming up here. Now the pressure's on me now. This guy's got to get some. So me and Max said, all right, put him in the front of the boat, give him the best seat, whatever lure we think's the best, tie it on his rod, let him get all the casts at the first spot, the whole shebang. And it started out really slow night. The first 2 hours, there was nothing. I had to drive all the way back into Lee's because I had to shit. That took 45 minutes. That's just part of fishing. If anyone here ever knows that guy, there's always the guy you invite fishing and he has to take a shit and he ruins your day. Me and Chris are both that guy. So when you invite us both, it's gonna happen.
No, I have never ruined anyone's day because I had to shit. I go right off the side of the boat. I'm not making anyone bring me back, dude. Let
That's
me tell you,
illegal. You could get
I'm
a
gonna
ticket now for that.
because I don't
It's
give a
on
shit
tape.
because you brought that up, and I've been requested to tell this story on the podcast, and you just said this is the perfect segue. I have to tell it now. Jen Wong and Ken Lazarchak begged me to tell this story on the podcast, so I'm going to do it. I was night fishing with my late buddy Artie. We're night fishing on Lake Opakong, and we're catfishing. And his wife at the time was getting off of work, and we didn't bring any food, and she offered to get Burger King, and yeah, whatever. She bought like 40 Burger King chicken nuggets on the boat that night, and we housed them all. Like she didn't even eat any. Like the two of us ate them all. And it was a terrible idea. And I started getting like my stomach just started turning in knots, right? So me, him, and her are sitting in his 14-foot aluminum V hull on Lake Opakong, and I'm getting like the rounds are hitting me. You know how it comes in like shifts, like it'll hit you like, oh, you're gonna shit your pants, and then it goes away, and you're like, all right, maybe it won't come back, but it always comes back.
Always.
And every time it comes back, it hits you a little harder for a little longer. And I fought it off as long as I could because I knew he wasn't going to take me back, and I wouldn't want him to. I didn't want to ruin anyone's fishing, but his wife's literally sitting in the middle of us, and this is just a 14-foot boat. She's arm's distance from me, and I go, "Hey guys," and I'm sweating at this point. I'm like, "Guys, I'm sorry, but I have to take a shit." And he starts laughing. He goes, "I ain't taking you back." I go, "I know. I've known you long enough. I know you're not taking me back." I'm like, "I'm just letting you know I'm gonna have to shit off the side of the boat." And his wife just looks confused, and she's like, she thinks we're like joking, and I'm like,
I hope there's a game warden watching this.
"It's nighttime, and you get out of here. It's nighttime. No one could see."
It's
And
littering.
whatever. Give me a break. The fish shit in the water all the time. I can't do it. Give me a break. So I look right at her and I go, I'm so sorry. I'm like, I have to do it or it's going to go in the boat. Like it's just going to come out. And she's like, oh, that's okay. I understand. And he's laughing his ass off. He's like, come on, honey, turn around. He's got to go to the bed. Turn around. And with her arm's distance from me, I could have touched her. I dropped my pants, hung my ass over the side of the boat, and just shit right in the Lake Opakong. And
oh God!
I mean, this was years ago. The limits of they can't ticket me anymore. It's been
that was probably definitely eaten by a walleye. That was then.
Let me tell you. Hold on. Here's the punchline of the story, right? So yeah, it's hilarious. I had to use like the rag he uses to wipe oil off like the thing. I had to use that dunked in the water to like wipe my ass. Like it's all hilarious. After I was done, he goes, well, I guess we should move because you ruined the fishing spot. Her fucking rod that was in the water bends over. She caught a giant channel catfish, like a 11, 12-pound channel catfish, right after I hit the spot and chummed it up.
All right, I'm going back to Thomas Wyatt because this is repulsively disgusting. So Thomas Wyatt ended up hooking into the first big hybrid of the night. What was weird about it, Chris? I know you're probably used to the same thing as me. You bring someone out on your boat, they hook a hybrid, you immediately know by the sound of the drag that it's a hybrid.
Right.
He was using a bait caster with no clicker at all.
Okay.
So he's fighting this. He's fighting the hybrid that took like 5 or 6 runs on the video, but like when the fish runs, it was silent. No, like it was. I'm not used to that. Like it was like I was like looking at it, trying to figure out what's going on here because I'm so used to hearing the noise, you know.
Yeah, that's not as cool.
No, it's not. I had to tell, like, dude, where's the drag burn? Like, that's the whole and then he actually caught a second nice one. Me and Max caught dinks all night. We just did nothing. I don't. Max might have caught one.
Sacrificed yourselves for him. That's real nice.
We didn't sacrifice it. I fished. I just went in with a top water lure, we had Thomas on a subsurface lure, and I said in my head, I'm not taking the top water off. I'm gonna throw this, and I'm either gonna get a giant or nothing. And I did switch to subsurface a few times when I got really jealous of Thomas Wyatt, but it just didn't work out.
You should have made him do the drag noise with his mouth or something when the fish was running.
Thomas, if you're watching this, the next time you come up, he's addicted. He's already sent me 900 text messages about how he's thinking about like a lure that he could custom. He's got like the same virus we had 20 years ago trying to figure this shit out.
Yep.
Yeah. He's trying to make lure, all the same exact. He's starting the process that we went through. But yeah, he's addicted. He already asked if we could go again this week. So that's how cool that is. Other than that, I didn't do much fishing this week. I was supposed to fish with Chuck Manny and Jen Wong Saturday, but I couldn't because my daughter got an ear infection at a water park, so I ended up having to stay home. But,
yeah, that looked pretty cool. I was kind of pissed off I couldn't make that. I was still in upstate New York.
When he called me and told me his 10 targets, and I heard him say porgy, I said, Chuck, there's no way you're catching a porgy. And he's like,
Why?
oh, yeah? Oh,
What did
yeah,
you say?
you think? I don't know. I just had it in my head. Like, he ain't going to just go out and catch a porgy. Like, he's just got planer boards with eels. Like, he ain't catching a porgy.
Wait, dude, he's an awesome fisherman. He could catch anything. We talked about it. Like, he chooses to do the striper thing. He could do it all.
Jen said I think Jen caught a sea robin. They scratched sea robin off the list.
Okay.
Chuck was literally like, all right, let's get a fluke. And he like ran somewhere and like he picked up a keeper fluke on one drop. Like, and that's it. I got the fluke, move on. Like, caught the fluke right away. And then they went through a couple fish and he caught the porgy. And he said, all of a sudden, I get a video of him holding this porgy, and it says, F you, here it is. I'm the porgy king now. And I did tell him, I said, Chuck, if you catch a porgy, I will confess you as the scup king on the podcast. And he said, yeah, that's what I want. So I am declaring Chuck Manny officially the king of the scup now, because I lost the bet to him. But it turns out he got, of all the fish in the sea, he got stuck on the skate. That's the one that killed him.
Really?
Yeah. I think they got to 7 or 8 species, and then they said, let's go for a skate. But they were also, like, fighting off storms. But it was hilarious talking to Chuck on the phone because he thought it was so funny. He just couldn't catch a skate. Like, they got a sea bass, and they couldn't catch a skate. Like, Chuck Manny's out fishing for skates, dude. Like, it's just unfathomable to think about it. It's crazy. Yeah, he's a failure. He's just, the guy's a loser. That's all I can tell you. All right, what else? What did you do?
I spent some time in upstate New York visiting our buddy Nick. I don't know if anyone's interested in those reports, but it's within driving distance. Fortunately, it was hot as hell up there too, so it wasn't even like we got away from the heat really. But the fishing was pretty slow up there. We fished like 3 days worth. Well, one night and 2 days worth. We probably had like a 3-hour window where we had good fishing. But I mean, hey, that's all it takes. I caught a really nice, probably my heaviest pike. It wasn't my longest pike. They're about 37 inches long, but it was a lot thicker than my personal best pike that was 38 1/4. So I got a nice pike, got a real nice smallmouth. Him and Katie got a nice largemouth. And then in between those real nice fish, we caught a lot of bass, a lot of largemouth, smallmouth, a lot of smaller pike, a couple panfish, things like that. We failed miserably fishing for channel cats. I think they might have been pushed into spawning mode with the full moon and the heat. What else did we try? We tried for we went to a couple spots. Tried for
fluking too.
I did go fluky. That was before that. Before I left for upstate New York. Right before I left, I went out for a morning fluke fishing with Jen Wong and Ken Lazarchak. That's when they told me that I should share the poop story on the podcast.
Lovely.
Yeah, we
I got
did a lot of talking because the fluke fishing was pretty slow for us. I think we were kind of a little bit late to the party, as Jen Wong would say.
I got report from the gambler says that the fishing on the daily fluke trips has slowed tremendously since the sea bass season is closed.
Oh, that's just perfect.
It says the night wrecking for ling has been much better. If you're looking to get on some ling, the gambler is getting on them at night. But also, I mean, they've been hammered with the south wind now for a while. It's been days of south wind.
And I guess
Pastorino was complaining about the south wind and the struggle of fishing. He had 16 keepers between 8 people. We'll just ignore his complaining, but I guess
day for him.
it sounds awful. Just try to avoid that boat. 16 keepers.
I guess the south wind. It's like the fish they don't get used to it. It's south wind is just a pain in the ass,
and it drops the temperature by too much.
And you would think that would help when it's this hot out with the air, but it doesn't.
You saw me. I literally asked Jerry Pastorino this question: what is the worst wind on planet Earth? And he just answered south. Without a doubt, it's the south.
Oh yeah, all the captains will tell you the same thing.
See, I was always like my whole life told it was the east. Like east is beast, west is best.
Well, east is going to give you a pretty nasty ocean, I think, a lot of the times. But if you can fish it, I think you could put together a decent if you don't do well, it's not because the fish are turned off. It's probably more because you can't control your boat, you get knocked around.
Gotcha. All right, moving on to other news. So, fish report, ling is picking up. John Gabrini, he's done really good at night. He had 2 nights over 20-pound bags of bass, top water fishing at night. John Dorn didn't win the Pompton Lake contest, but he seemed to have caught some good fish. So, the bass fishing seems to remain pretty solid in the heat wave. The smallmouth fishing seems to have gotten slower, but the largemouth bass fishing's picked up. 2 things we need to touch on before we bring the guest in for RVTA.
I did have one more. I did fish for one more. I fished for pike in New Jersey with Nick when we came back, and I just wanted to real quick. I mean, we crushed them, but I just wanted to put this out there for anyone, and same thing for trout, I guess, and pike. If you want to fish for these species when it gets this hot, what you're going to find is that these species like the colder water, obviously. If you fight these fish too long in warmer water, and when you have these heat waves, a lot of the water is like that, you do pose a risk of killing the fish. So if your plan is not to keep these fish, I just want to take precautions, right? So if you want to trout fish, get one of those water temperature, one of the little thermometers that is for the water, and take the water temperature. I'm trying to remember the exact temperatures, but basically I want to say if it's over 65 degrees or 70, you're in a danger zone. It's probably not smart to fish for trout in those temperatures. There are,
especially on the fly rod.
Well, yeah, especially if you're going to be overfighting them and stuff like that. There are places that are fed by mountain streams and stuff where you can, in the summertime, early summer or late summer, if you don't have a heat wave, you could possibly find water temperatures that are okay. And pike is really the same thing, right? You got tributaries and stuff, water coming into these places. If you can find the colder water, revive the pike in the colder water. Use heavier gear, get them in quick, take a quick picture, whatever, release them quick. Because if you mess around with these fish too much when it's hot like this, and it's tough because the bite can be really, really good.
Well, that's one of the confusing issues is the ridiculous hot pike bite in the summer is always good, but it is a cold water fish, and it kind of
Yeah.
You don't connect it because the
Well,
bite's so good in the August. It ain't acting like a cold water fish, but it is, and you will kill it
well, no, you don't. You're not going to if you know what you're doing.
if you do it properly. You won't kill it.
That's basically my warning, right? The fishing is so good because the fish metabolism is up. They have to eat, and they got to eat a lot.
Well, it's
And
also so good they're easier to find because if you could find colder water, that's where they are.
exactly. So it can be thought, hypothetically, if you find them, basically, if you find a good pike fishing spot, it's probably because that water is a little bit cooler from a tributary or something running into it.
And it causes a gathering.
Right. So you can effectively fish for them if you handle them the right way. And that means your gear's heavy enough to get them in quick. You get them unhooked quick. You can take a picture or whatever. I take pictures of them. You can even get a quick measurement. You get them back into that cold spot of water or whatever, maybe where the tributary is flowing in or whatever, and hold them there for a little bit. Make sure they're good. We didn't lose a single fish. We hit a couple of spots. We caught, between the two of us, I think we caught 5 pike over 34 inches and probably 20 or so smaller than that. We didn't lose a single one of them. They all swam off nice and fast. A couple of them gave us a little trouble. I had one. I'm not going to take the Band-Aid off because it's disgusting, Joe. This pike, I've never been cut like a pike by a pike, or anything. This is the worst wound I've ever suffered from a fish or a knife or a sword. This is like getting hit with a sword, dude. He got that back, those big dog teeth they got in the back corner?
Oh, yeah.
So I relaxed my grip to adjust it at just the wrong moment when this thing turned towards me and thrashed. I felt that tooth go in and just rip a piece of my thumb off, dude. He cut it down to the cut right through the fat tissue and everything. I could see the inside of my thumb through the gash. Disgusting.
Well, at least it was good pike fishing. Suffer for the fish, so you're wounded.
It definitely suffered, and I'm just hoping that it didn't get infected, but I guess we'll see.
You will see. All right, getting to two. We got two big news things from the RVTA, and then we have to bring the guest in.
Yeah.
The first one is July 20th. The RVTA is going to have their first official open buddy bass tournament. Chris, listen to this because this is actually pretty cool, even though it's bass. So it's 2-man teams, kayaks and boats. You could be on separate kayaks. You could be on separate boats. You could be on the same boat. But it's a 2-man team, and it's the combined length of the best 5 bass to win this. It's July 20th. I think it's $35 a person to enter for a RVTA member and $40 for a non-member. So a team is 80, non-members are 80, and members a member team is 70. So I might have that off by $5, but I think I'm right. I might be saying it might be 30 and 35.
I mean, if you want to do even 1 or 2 of these tournaments and you're not in the club, what are you doing?
It's $5. Well, this is the first. This is the first time they're trying this open buddy thing. It's going to be done on the app Fishing Chaos, so you're going to need Fishing Chaos for it, and it'll all be entered. Catch and release, measure the fish on the picture, and the 5 longest combined fish win.
But I'm just saying, in general, even if you're not going to do these contests, but you like to fish there, the membership fee is basically a donation to making the fishery better.
I really don't even fish RVTA contests anymore, except for the veterans one. But I'm still a member. I still donate to the big fish fund and all that stuff.
Because basically, if you want to fish there even just a couple of times a season, why wouldn't you help make it a better fishery? I mean, it looks like they finally solved some of these problems with the structure and the water, the water level coming back up. I mean, I don't know the details behind.
It's different. It's definitely changed. But yeah, if you have any interest in that, you could reach out to Mike Connery or Kyle Thomas. It's July 20. Like I said, you'll need the app on your phone, Fishing Chaos. That app pretty much just proves you're on the lake, and it pretty much sets up everything for you.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing that we want to talk about from RVTA, the Veterans Contest. Last year was the first Veterans Contest I fished in it. Chris was unable to go to it. It was one of the more fun ones that I've ever been in. It was fully free, complete. You know, it was a charity event. It's a Veterans appreciation tournament. And basically, we all take veterans out on our boats, and the weigh-in is then at 12 noon, followed by like a big lunch and an award ceremony and all kinds of door prizes and gift cards and raffles for everyone. And this is all free. It's all funded by donors to the RVTA. The day is, you know, it's for the vets. They give us a free lunch for taking the veterans out, and we have a great time doing it. But what they have told us, Chris, is they're going to give us a spot to give away for that event.
What do you mean? For a veteran?
For a veteran. So if we have any veterans watching this show, or if you watch this podcast and maybe you have a family member that's a veteran, we're going to do a wheel spin from RVTA, and we're going to pick a veteran that's going to get to fish in the contest.
So I was gonna ask you if there's any spot. So there's only one spot right now left open.
There's right now. I mean, there's still anyone who's, you know, control and is willing to donate their time to this. It would be greatly appreciated if you came forward, because then more vets can fit. But
okay,
yeah, a lot of the vets from last year are returning, and yeah, there's a limited number of spaces for vets. But if you're a vet and you email us or email RVTA, your name's going to go on a wheel, and we're going to pick a vet that's going to win to be entered in it.
And now, do we know which boat they're going to go on? And the reason I'm asking is, can they accommodate, say, a veteran that's confined to a wheelchair, or are there any do they have to be able to?
I mean, we did what we could last year. You know, we had step ladders. This year, the water level's back up to the launches. I don't know really about a wheelchair. That would be something you'd have to ask Mike Connery about. But yeah, there's obviously accommodations. The day is for the veterans. That's who it's for.
I want to say if the veteran can get in a boat with assistance, even I think they'd be good to go. Because even if they have to be sitting the whole time, I mean, you bring the rod to them. They just sit there and they can fight the fish.
Oh, we had many vets last year that were up there. I mean, Korean War veterans, upper 70s. The guy in my boat, Ray, I posted videos of him last year. He never got up. He fought every fish from the front seat. And he loved it. So that's what we're going to do. If you know a veteran or have a relative that's a veteran, or if you have a trolling boat and you want to come fish this with us with a vet on your boat, please email us or email the RVTA. But yeah, if you're a vet, please get your info into us. We're going to spin a wheel, give that away. That's for September 14th.
When are you spinning the wheel, though?
I don't have a date on that. I'm going to give these, I'm going to give obviously this doesn't come out till Friday, so then I have to give the veterans some time to get to me and stuff.
Yeah, it's not till September.
The contest isn't until September, so yeah, you have time. Probably won't spin it till like August or something. So get the word out. If you know any vets, get me their names. I'll put them on the wheel. Someone's going to go to this event for free, and it's going to be great.
And hopefully we'll get more boats that could accommodate more veterans.
Oh, that'd be great. Anybody willing to volunteer your time, that'd be great. It is a little bit tricky of a situation because you do have to have a boat that's capable of actually fishing Round Valley, which Chris said before, not everyone has that. But if you do, please, it's really. I'm not a huge fan of volunteering for shit because I don't think my time is free. I think my time's worth more than yours because I'm just, an asshole. But this was something that, like, I really felt like at the end of the day, I was like, I really felt good about this. Like, I told him that day, I said, count me in for next year. I'm in already. Put me on. I'm in.
Yeah, I was not happy about missing it, but by the time I found out about it, I was already tied into a different trip. I wasn't even in the state at that time, but
Well, you will be there this year, and you'll see that
yeah.
it is going to be
Yeah,
fun.
I can't wait.
All right. If we can possibly get Mike, is Mike ready to come on? Mr. Mike Herman from Yellow Dog Paddle. Do we have him?
Mike is 100% ready because
Mike is ready. Let's go. Let's bring Mike in, Deuce. If you enjoy the kooky and wacky shit me and Chris are always doing on video and all over the internet and all these different fish, it is not free. It is funded by people like Yellow Dog Paddle, Eddie Mackin, and NJFishing.com. 27 years as the #1 resource of freshwater and saltwater fishing in New Jersey. Podcasts like this and channels like ours would not exist if it was not possible for Jerry Zagorski. His website is completely 100% free, and it's just too easy to even explain how easy it is.
yeah, you know what? And people ask me all the time, how do you catch all these different kinds of fish? I didn't even know fish got this big in New Jersey, blah, blah, blah. My advice to them every single time, #1 step, sign up at njfishing.com and just absorb as much information as possible, period. That's the first step.
And if you're interested in buying a gazebo, Jerry sells gazebos on the side as a side job, just as a little plug for him.
Yeah, if you want to blow your whole day building one, passing out
Not
fishing.
your whole day. You want to blow your whole week, not
Oh,
a day. Jerry does
sorry.
sell gazebos that'll ruin your life on the side.
Great price, though.
Good price. Okay, so we have tonight's guest here finally ready to come in. He's been fishing New Jersey for over 45 years and now been owner and operator of Yellow Dog Paddle for 10 years. This is their 10th year in business. This is Mike Herman from Yellow Dog Paddle. Mike, welcome to the NJ Multi-Species Podcast.
What's going on, Mike?
Hey, how are you guys?
Doing all right. Doing all right.
Good.
How you doing? How's the fishing been?
Fishing's been incredible this year. We've had some really, really good days on the water. Round Valley, Merrill Creek, Spruce Run's yet to really fire up, but those two bodies of water have been producing a lot of fish this year, especially the salmon up in Merrill Creek. It's been incredible.
Hey, are you guys seeing the change, like positive changes on Round Valley already from what the Round Valley Trout Association's been doing there?
Yeah, so Round Valley has changed a lot this year. We've got almost 30 feet of water. Everything that's grown over the last 7-8 years along the shoreline is now considered structure. Round Valley's been missing structure really since it's been full. And believe it or not, it's become a little bit more of a bass fishery in the last couple of months than it's ever been. And I've been fishing there for over 20 years. So, these bass have been there the whole time. It's just they were a pelagic species. They were just pretty much swimming around, nothing to hold them in one spot. And now they're on the shorelines in all those saplings and bushes that have grown over the last 7-8 years. It's really good. I'm seeing a lot of bass boats showing up, a lot of kayak guys. It's kind of changing, but it's still great for trout. I mean, the rainbow fishery there is really off the charts, catching quite a few larger fish and a lot of shorts. These guys, the state does a great job with rainbows. They put in over 6,000 a year. The growth pattern on the rainbows in Round Valley is basically about an inch a month, and they become 15 and a half inches sometime in September. You know, and they become, you know, you can harvest them over 15 inches in Round Valley.
The most of the most of the clients that you take out, would you say a higher percentage of them end up taking fish home in a cooler or releasing them?
So, Joe, I mean, it depends on where we're fishing. So if you're going to catch fish and you want to keep them and you want that fish that's a delicious trout, my recommendation is Round Valley. Super clean water. You're taking a fish out that essentially has been in Round Valley close to a year, eating bugs, have a really clean diet. There are really not that much in the way of bait fish there, so it's not an oily fish. It's a really clean fish where you don't have to come up with some concoction of a recipe to mask an oily lake trout, right? From like Lake Ontario, right? So at the end of the day, that would be my recommendation, would be keeping fish from Round Valley if you can catch them, right? It's you could put them on the grill, salt, pepper, and butter, and you're good. You know, places like Merrill Creek, that's a herring-based diet. It's a totally different taste. Same fish, 30 miles away, completely different taste. So you pretty much need a smoker to eat fish out of Merrill Creek, you know.
I mean, like, I don't know, maybe it's because I'm Portuguese and like I have uncles that will just eat a bluefish raw, but
Yeah.
I'm not as bad as them. But I don't mind a lake trout from Merrill Creek. But what I will say is the trout from Round Valley, like we were saying, that's been eating that natural diet of mostly bugs, shrimp, or whatever, it's you can't compare it to a stock trout. Like for anyone who's ever kept a state stock trout in the stream that year, not a holdover one, like a fresh stocked one. I mean, to me, this is coming from someone who likes to eat bluefish. I will not eat those things. They taste like river mud to me. But the ones that have been living in Round Valley, like you said, can't compare. They're delicious.
Yeah,
When you the Round Valley ones, when you fillet them, they're almost like, it looks like watermelon. The meat's like, it's like red. It's crazy.
It's beautiful.
It's really crazy. But yeah, but another thing with you, like everyone knows, we're like big sticklers for, we won't promote anything that we don't use and know works, and we won't promote people that we don't know, and we actually don't know you, like we've never fished with you, but your track record came back so like impeccable from people we do know, and so many people that do return trips with you. Your return customer rate is very high, so that just tells us that it was a safe move to make, and it ended up turning out to be a good one to make. But what does it feel like to, after 10 years, to have built a reputation like that, like, you know, we did a background check on you, it came back impeccable, basically?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I started out like a lot of people. You get frustrated when you first start fishing. It's just how it is. And I didn't always fish from a boat, right? I grew up around boats, but I didn't always fish from a boat. I was a shoreline guy. I was a wading guy. I was a fly fishing guy, basically, for the first 15 years of being serious into fishing. And, you know, at the end of the day, I migrate, you know, I live fairly local between Spruce Run and Round Valley, and we've got great bodies of water to fish, right? And there's no excuse not to own a boat if you can afford it. And so I started to fish there. I joined the Round Valley Trout Association. It's a great source of information, great club, love those guys. And I started fishing Round Valley, and I was frustrated. It is one of the toughest places to fish in New Jersey. The water is gin clear, 25 feet of visibility. You can see the stones and the weeds or whatever's down there, and these fish inspect your lures. I am convinced of it. They go up, they'll look, turn away, and once in a while you can get them to fire. And, you know, it's a place that if you could fish Round Valley, and in my case, I troll, you could pretty much fish anywhere. If you could get Round Valley down, depth, speed, leaders, clear water, trout, fool them, you could do pretty well in a lot of other bodies of water. You know, not just me saying that. I've heard that from a lot of guys that have been successful up on Lake Ontario, guys that have been successful in the Finger Lakes. You know, guys are really doing well in some of these other places, but they really cut their teeth in Round Valley. So if you could figure Round Valley out as an example, you got a chance to duplicate that in other bodies of water and be really successful.
And I've heard this multiple times. You saying this is not the first time I've heard this, and we've said it in different versions just for New Jersey in general. Just the pressure our lakes get and the tough fisheries we have. We've said, like, learning to fish in New Jersey for any specific type of species, if it's applicable to apply somewhere wherever else you're fishing, it's almost like it's like training in a place that is so much harder that it gives you that extra step, like a step up to start off on. And it's basically what you're saying. And I don't troll that much. I know Joe does, and we'll get into the trolling a little bit more in a minute here. But I get exactly what you're saying, and I think it's also true for all other kinds of fisheries we have here too. I think if you learn to fish in New Jersey, you have that one step up on someone else who's maybe fishing, starts learning how to fish in upstate New York, where there's not the popular spots, like the less popular spots where the pressure's not as high, the water's not as clear in a situation like Round Valley, things like that.
Yeah, high pressure in New Jersey. You know, these fish, almost any body of water, they're seeing a lot of stuff. They're trying to get fooled by a lot of anglers, whether it's a boat or a shoreline. They've seen a lot, and you need to be pretty good to get these guys to fire. You know, to get them to strike. And at the end of the day, every fish needs to eat. You just need to have the right stuff and be in the right spot. That's it. You know,
yeah, something's got to trigger. You got to trigger them the right way. It's not just going to be like, oh, something shiny, I'm going to bite it every time. It just doesn't work that way. I love the days it does work like that, but it doesn't happen that often.
Me and Chris have touched on a few times with this. This is a very good trip to take kids on, because it's basically very easy for a kid to fight the fish and reel them in. You know, like, you're helping them set the lines and stuff. It's a good trip for kids. It's high action usually.
Well, and I just want just kids, and for, you know, adults or young adults.
Did he drop?
no, I'm still here.
Nah, Chris dropped.
Oh, Chris has dropped.
I don't hear Chris no more. He froze.
Yeah, he's frozen.
Deuce? Why does that happen?
Every single episode, Mike.
Yeah.
This is good to drop me off one time. It drops me off one time at about the same time every time. I'm going to start trying to predict it.
Where's Deuce? Is he even alive?
No, it's fine. I'm back. It brings me right back in. It brings me right back in, and then we just keep going. So I don't know what the last thing you heard, but I just wanted to throw in not just kids, also young adults or older adults that are now fishing for the first time, for the same reason.
Yeah, so I would say half of my customers are families with kids. Most of them, at the best, have limited experience, right? So you could get as involved as you want as far as going on the boat and helping out and, you know, learning as much. I'll teach you whatever you want to know. But for the most part, they want to catch. That's it. Okay. So at the end of the day, catching on my boat is trolling. The fish hook themselves because I'm trolling, and it's a matter of lifting the rod. We might have an 8-rod setup or a 10-rod setup, lifting the right rod, keeping tension on the line and bringing it in. I'm doing a planer board. We're netting a fish. If you're keeping fish, you've got a cooler with ice, and it's on to the next. I mean, there's a lot of times when we're fishing, especially like in the month of May, where there's doubles or triples on, and it becomes chaotic, but it's all good. You know, it's just great action where the parents have no intention to fish, but they're forced to because we have multiple fish on. So, I got to get them out of their seats, and you got to be a part of the action. And it's just, it's great to see kids, because I will tell you, having kids of my own, my kids are older now. Less screen time is better. The real thing's better than the iPad. So getting outside, really, since COVID, for me, our business exploded during COVID. It was one of the few compliant things we could do, which is to get outside, right? Mm-hmm. And fishing was right in that wheelhouse, and it worked out well. And we did well. People have come back. They come back every year, twice a year. Some people. I have a woman that comes out with me over 10 times every year, and she loves to fish. And at the end of the day, it's a great sport. I love it. I love to fish. I don't care if it's me catching fish or someone else. I just want to see what's under the water that's on the line. It just never goes away. You're bringing it up. It's just, you never know what it is.
You're right. Exactly. And no matter how many times you do it, you could fish the same lake, even if you just fished one lake and you fished it every day, you'd still never know. You may be able to predict the species, but you'd still never know what kind. A giant fish, a bigger one you've ever seen before may come up. One that has some weird mutated coloring on it. You just never, anything. It's spot on. That's what keeps us coming back.
That's it. Yeah, we fished Round Valley 2 days ago, and the channel cats are hitting spoons in 10 feet of water over 60 feet. And, we're thinking we have monster Lakers, and you come up with a 7-8 pound channel cat, on a 2 colors of lead cord. It's just crazy, but they're out there, right? And they're in that thermocline feeding on whatever. And it's like, wow, I didn't expect that,
Yeah. Sorry, I struggle with this too, and I think Joe does too. When you're targeting a certain species and something not that species comes up, and it's not as desirable to most people, like a catfish or a pickerel, and you tend to, your first thought is damn it, what is this? But I don't know, and I do the same thing. I'm guilty of it too. I'll be bass fishing and I'll catch a big pickerel. I'd be like, damn it, I thought it was a big bass. But I'm trying to appreciate the fit. If it's a big fish, if he cuts my lure off, I'm still going to curse it out. But if he doesn't cut the line and it's a nice fish, you just got to learn to love everything that comes up, I don't know. What do you think, Joe?
I agree. You have to, whatever comes at you. That's the thing that I love about trolling the most, especially with all the planer boards out, is you just never know what's on one. Anything could happen. That's the whole thing with trolling.
Yep.
Altogether.
Any fishing, really, but trolling especially, because you just have so many. You have the ability to put so many different lures out. You have the ability to change the speed. We'll go faster, go slower, turn this way, turn that way, and I do. Can we get into the trolling a little bit now, Joe, or did you want to touch on anything else?
I just wanted to ask Mike, if you had your perfect day, perfect weather conditions, perfect time of the year, you by yourself, and you're going out fishing, where are you going and what are you going for?
There's really two. It's two answers. Springtime would be a full fog day where you can't see 10 feet in front of you. Okay, it's 50 degrees, and I'm on Merrill Creek, and I'm the only trailer in the parking lot. Okay, I'm going to blow it out of the water. There'll probably be multiple fish on at once, and I'm fishing with electronics. I'm fishing with my map. I don't know what's in front of me. I'm praying nobody else pulled in that day because I don't have radar. But at the end of the day, it's usually calm when there's fog. There's never wind, very rare anyway. It's cool. You're wearing a raincoat, not because it's raining, but because you're soaking wet from the damn fog going over you. And it's always good. So if you could find that, that's a perfect day. And then I'm going to fast forward all the way to December in Round Valley. The shoreline fishing in Round Valley in December is really consistent. You're one of a few boats out there. A lot of guys hunt. They hang up, they winterize their boat. They put it in the garage in October and they're done. So the outdoorsmen, they kind of pick a trail to go down. And in October, I fish year round. So for me, December in Round Valley's been phenomenal. The problem with Round Valley now is going to be December. I'm going to be shoreline fishing. I'm going to be snagging on all those saplings that are on the shoreline now. So I'm probably going to be cursing at a lot of stuff in December this year. So,
so you probably, how long has the water been down? It's been a couple of years now already, and you probably knew that shoreline pretty good. Now you got to relearn it.
Yeah, my map was 30 feet off for 7 years, and now I'm back up full pool. But the problem is I don't know where all this stuff has grown, and I might be flatlining near the shoreline, and I'm probably going to lose a lot of lures.
Yeah.
I get exactly what you're saying. Oh,
that's no good.
It'll be good in the long run.
I know you want to totally concentrate on your fishing, but do you want to touch on the kayaking stuff at all? Because I saw the pictures and it looked cool to me. Like I would go to that with my wife. Like I thought it looked awesome.
Yeah, so a little bit about us. I mean, Yellow Dog Paddle's been around since 2015. We basically started it when we were on vacation. We'd go paddle boarding. Nobody knew what the hell a paddle board was. We brought them back. We started doing it in the state parks, and everyone would tell us that's a nice surfboard, that type of stuff. So we went from having some paddle boards to having some kayaks to growing a hobby into a business. And I've always liked to fish, and I've just gotten busier and busier where, the fishing I'm the only one that does it. So for the company, just to be clear, if you're booking a trip, you're fishing with me. I've tried it with other guys and hired people to go out, and it just never really worked out that well. Because honestly, when people open up their wallets, they want to catch fish. It's just the bottom line. I get both ends of it. I get it as an owner. I got time and effort and all that stuff in it. But if you want to go fishing and you're going to pay for it, you want to catch. And I get it. It is what it is. So you would fish with me. The kayak and paddleboarding, that type of stuff, which we also do. We do some cool events. We do full moon paddles where you're going out at night. The kayaks are lit up. We'll do groups of 20, 18 to 20 people on the water at once. It's fun. It's just fun. And do a little bit of downriver stuff, but not a whole lot. There's just only so many hours in the day.
I made a joke about it, but I was serious. Like if I'm going on one of these kayak trips, like if a group of us rent some kayaks, I'm allowed to bring my fishing rod, right? Or do I have to hide it from you guys?
Yeah, you could troll. You'll be the one in the rear.
I'll disappear into like the side creeks with the kayak with the fishing rod.
Mike, right. By chance, do you know Andrew Still?
I know Andrew Still just through some commentary, but that's all I know of him.
Okay, so he's like the
I
big
believe his
troll.
wife might have. Did his wife catch a big brown trout back in the 90s?
Yeah, she had a state record.
That's what I thought. Okay, that's all I know of Andy Still.
That's our veteran for the Round Valley Veteran Contest. It's me, Chris, and Andy. Okay. It's going to be us three.
All right, cool.
You'll be in that, correct?
Oh yeah. Yeah. This is the second year RVTA. I think we're doing it on the 14th. I think Mike Connery said the 14th of September. So the nice part about the 14th is it's the day before the lake trout season closes. So we'll be able to weigh in not just rainbows this year, but Lakers and rainbows. That's the reason we had it before the 15th of September when the lake trout season closes.
Yeah, I missed this last year. I was kind of bummed about it. I had another trip planned and I just wasn't around. Joe was able to do it, and it looked pretty cool. I'm not jealous of too many things Joe does without me, but this was one of them. And so I made sure that we could both do it this year for sure. And you made me think of something real quick I want to ask you. So I know you primarily troll, but have you heard anything about the jigging for lake trout picking up on Round Valley? Because I've always done well on Merrill Creek over the last 12, 13 years, but
Yep.
Round Valley has never been so good to me for jigging. But I heard it's kind of starting to change.
Yeah, Round Valley jigging, there are guys that do it, most of them being fishing kayaks, just because they don't have the ability to do, they're really more stationary. I mean, unless you got a motorized, kayak, you're going to be getting to your spot and either casting or jigging. That's just how it is. Traditionally, Round Valley for jigging has been good in the winter months. So, you do post-spawn lake trout, which would be like the December 1st is when the season opens back up. I believe in Round Valley, you get post spawn, they get aggressive, they want to feed before the winter time. It's usually pretty good. Some of the biggest fish I've seen have been jigged up in the month of December. The mid to upper teens to 20-pound Lakers. Those the big ones come out usually in December, unless your name is Yanetta. He catches those in the first tournament of the season, while he's picking up his last line coming into the launch,
Hey, you know what they say, like they say some guys are just lucky, but you make your own luck. So
That's right.
I mean,
He's
that's
a good
it.
fish.
All right, I got one last question for Mike,
Yeah.
and then we'll let him go so we don't waste his whole night here.
Hold on, you don't let him go. I promised we were going to talk about the trolling. I'm not going to pry him for all his secrets, but I want to get a little bit of trolling information from him.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Go
I
ahead.
mean, I don't know that much about trolling. I want to learn a little bit, and you love trolling, and you're terrible at it, so I want you to learn something too. So when I go with you, I can catch some fish.
That's fine.
But we'll go ahead. What do you want to ask?
No, go ahead. Ask your trolling stuff.
Oh, we can get into the trolling stuff?
Yeah, go ahead.
You don't have any questions for him with trolling?
No.
But you're terrible at it. Like when I go with you,
We only went one time and caught a 14-pound fish and won and never went again. We went.
I'm
once.
just busting your balls. Yeah, we told you that story, Mike, right? We were doing one of the tournaments.
That big Laker. I think that was the first tournament a few years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
And if I'm not mistaken, that was fog as well, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, it was pea soup fog, just like you said.
Yeah.
And our original plan was, all right, we'll start off trolling, try to get a big rainbow or a brown, and then we'll switch over when it gets sunny out, because that's when it's typically better for jigging, because it kind of concentrates the fish on whatever bottom structure. And then I'll take over and I'll try to jig them like I do at Merrill. And it just flipped right on us, and we caught a giant Laker trolling shallow. What were we over, Joe? We were over deep water.
About 80 or 70.
Mm-hmm.
But it was only four colors.
Oh, it was 4. I thought it was even shallower than that. But we weren't expecting a giant lake trout. Right. And we were able, we pulled everything and turned right around. I think we called in to see if they could weigh it in right away. Brought it right back, weighed it in, and we were able to release it. It swam away. Hopefully it survived. And then we didn't catch a single fish the rest of the day.
Only need one.
That's all it took.
But so like I said, I promised Michael we weren't going to pry him for like any crazy secret tactics or lures or anything like that. But coming from me, so my boat's a little smaller, right? I think it's a pretty typical boat. I think a lot of people in New Jersey have a 14, 15-foot V-hull or something similar with a 9.9 on it so they could fish all the lakes. I can troll 5 rods comfortably. After that, it starts getting sketchy. I tangle a lot, whatever. So I guess my question would be like, if I come to you and I say, look, I fish a lot. I don't troll a lot. I'm looking to get started because I want every tactic under my belt for whatever situation. And there are situations where trolling is the best tactic. And I'll admit it, it's not my preferred way to fish. One, because my boat can't do it as efficient as a lot of these bigger boats or these guys who are more experienced doing it. And two, the only other reason is because a lot of times I do enjoy feeling the fish strike. So if you're trolling with the rod and the holder, you miss that part of it. But that being said, trolling is just hands down, no questions asked, one of the most effective ways to catch fish, and sometimes the best way to target certain fish in certain bodies of water. So if I wanted to get started, I had a smaller boat, so I'm not looking to go right out and put out this giant spread. I just want to start off small. Like, what would your advice be? If I have no gear, I
Yep.
want to try trolling on a smaller level just so that I can wet my feet in it. You know what I mean?
So, I mean, it depends on what you want to go for. I'm going to stick to trout because that's the most relevant
Yeah,
topic.
let's go basic. Like we're fishing the lake. Let's
Yep.
say the lake is Round Valley for
Yep.
targeting trout.
All right. So the first thing I'm going to tell you with trolling, and people need to hear this because I respect every kind of fishing. I don't care if you're casting, you're bass fishing, you're fishing with live bait. I don't care. Whatever it is that you want to do, I don't know of a tournament that's ever been won, salmon or trout, that was a non-troller. So I'm going to throw that out there. It is the most effective way to catch trout and salmon, assuming they're not spawning going up the Salmon River. Okay. But if you're on a lake, it's the best way to put a presentation and to have water depth and speed control and adjust things on the fly to get yourself the most consistent way to put fish into the boat. Okay. So the most basic setup would be maybe you could fish with 2 rods. I mean, that's my biggest thing with people is you don't need to get all your equipment right up front. You could start out with 2 rods. I'm going to tell you that the way I do things, I buy everything in pairs. So my left side and my right side are the exact same amount of backing, the exact same amount of lead core line, if that's what I tend to fish, and the exact length of leader and pound test. Everything's the same. And all my planer boards and all my rods are labeled that way. So I know if one rod on the left side is firing, I can change something, that lure on that particular rod on the right side. And I can get both of those rods to do the exact same thing, and they might be 100 feet apart. They might be 75 feet apart, but they're in the same water column. They're doing the same thing, and 9 times out of 10, both sides are going to catch fish. Okay. Buying in pairs is really important because if you have one rod, that's the hot rod, right? And I think everyone's probably experienced this. They're like, God, I wish I had another one of those lures, or I wish I had another 4-color rod, or I wish I had another, whatever it is you're fishing. You had another wire line rod. You want to be able to duplicate it, right? And have at least 2 rods of the same presentation so you could duplicate the success, which is essentially going to double the amount of fish or strikes or whatever you're doing in that body of water. So my biggest thing is to get pairs of everything and start out slow. You want a conventional reel, you want a line counter reel. You're going to want to be able to say, okay, I'm letting line out. How many feet of line am I letting out? It's not telling me how deep I'm going, but it's telling me how many feet do I have out. If I have 200 feet out on the left side and 130 feet out on the right side, and only my left side rod's going off, well, I probably should drop that other one back 60, 70 feet so I could duplicate the same thing on the other side of the boat. So,
right, so it might not be an exact science as to where it is, but it's an exact science of you being able to replicate exactly what's happening that way. Yeah, that makes sense.
It's really important. I mean, you're not going to go out and buy 40 different pairs of rods. You're not. It's not something that I would do unless I was a guide. I wouldn't do it. But
I don't think anyone can afford that anymore.
It's expensive. It's an expensive sport. You're right. But at the end of the day, consistency, knowing, like it's a mathematical equation when you're a troller. You have numbers rattling around in your head from the time I get on the boat till the time I'm pulling into the dock. I'm looking at speed. I'm looking at temperature. I'm looking at on the turn. Are the rods on the right side going off when I'm turning left? That means my speed should increase because they're only hitting it when it's speeding up 0.3 or 0.4. It's all of these technicals. And if you're paying attention, you can pick up on, wow, every time I make a turn, that one side goes off. So I either need to go slower if it's on the inside boards or faster if it's on the outside boards. And just little things like that makes a lot of sense. And you can do it with two too.
He just gave me a question now for myself.
Yep.
You just talked about the speed. I mean, without letting too much of the cat out of the bag, it's fairly obvious the Laker is the slowest trolling speed, and then the salmon is the fastest trolling speed, and then the rainbow is in the middle. When you're fishing in a tournament trying to just target all of them, I mean, how do you balance the speed between a Laker and a trout? Because, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I totally get it. It's a good question. It's something I struggled with for 4 or 5 years, Joe. It's and this is a long time ago, but we at Round Valley Trout Association, we actually call that combo fishing. I want to catch both Lakers and rainbows. Because if you're fishing a tournament years ago, you had to weigh in 2 rainbows and you had to weigh in 6 lake trout. So it was hard to figure it out. And if you needed 1 more rainbow to get a full bag and you needed 3 more Lakers, what are you doing? Like it's either one or the other. So combo fishing, I'm just going to give you a number. Let's say it's 2 miles an hour for rainbow trout and it's 1 mile an hour for lake trout. Okay, because they do like that slower presentation. They're genetically they're a little bit lazier of a fish.
Yeah.
Rainbows like to chase. You're going to split it in the middle. You're going to troll 1.5 miles, 1.6, whatever the case is. And I'm just picking numbers, but you want to be in the middle. So you have a chance on both ends. It might be a little bit faster, that Laker, but he might still grab it. Might be a little slow for the rainbow, but that fish might grab it too. So combo fishing, split it in the middle.
And you just triggered a question in my mind now with the lake trout. So I've noticed the same thing with the slower trolling speed, but what's weird to me, and like I said, I've jigged them for years versus trolling. I haven't trolled them as much. But what's weird is when you're jigging a lake trout, they start off slow, but they sometimes, like a lot of the times, they really end up chasing that lure down fast. And I'm kind of wondering, if you're trolling for lake trout, do you ever notice that if you either take a turn and on the outside that's speeding up, or if you just speed up in general, if that lure speeds up, do you find that you get a lot of lake trout to hit on the speed up from like going slow to the speed up as it's accelerating?
I would say the general answer is no. I would probably get more on the inside boards of that turn. If I'm turning left, the boards on the inside that those lures are going to fall. Again, it depends on where you're fishing, but generally speaking, on the fall, those Lakers are going to hit. On the outside would be those salmon, would be those rainbows that with the faster speed.
And that makes sense to me, but because those fish are going to be faster in general, and maybe it's because they're beating the lake trout to it. But what's crazy to me is when you're jigging, right, and I can see it on the coming straight vertical, they speed up so fast sometimes, and you got to match their speed.
Yep.
And it's crazy that it's completely different fishing them vertically than when you're fishing them horizontally trolling. They act completely different, it seems like.
Yeah, I know they definitely chase the jig up, and sometimes they'll strike it when it's being pulled away. I do know that. Yeah. I think it depends on where you're fishing for that to be really effective.
Yeah.
What's your opinion on live bait?
I have no problem with live bait. A lot of guys do well with live bait. The only thing that I don't like about live bait is sometimes they'll take the hook a little bit deep and you end up having mortality rates a little bit higher than what I would have with trolling. Because when you're trolling, you generally do not have a fish take the lure very deep. It's almost always hooked in the mouth somewhere.
Yeah.
So, if it like now the water temps are starting to creep up. They're getting near 80 degrees. It's tough. It starts to stress the fish out a little bit. So unhooking them at the side of the boat, they're good. Catching a fish, in the evening in Round Valley on a piece of shrimp or whatever it is that you want to do, or live bait, you may not know the fish is on until it's engulfed.
Oh, yeah. And
now you're trying to take a hook out when it's 85 degrees in the middle of the night and the surface temperature is 80. That fish is probably going to die.
No, I do take my kids to do that, and it's a complete massacre. Nothing lives. It's just horrible. But
you got to plan on taking them.
I take them at least. I take them at least once or twice a year because they just could slay fish all night. But it's not, the mortality rate's horrendous on it. They should actually probably make it illegal. But as long as it's legal, I guess I'll keep taking them.
Let's not start making ridiculous rules. If it was
it's not a ridiculous rule. The big problem is the keeper size is 15 inches, and the state fills the lake with 9-inch fish.
Oh, okay.
So when I have 80 dead 9-inch fish floating around the boat, I can't. What am I going to do with them?
Well, so then they should do something where they, let you keep those smaller fish for whatever the months are that this is happening.
What's Mike's opinion? Because the Round Valley guys hate this night shit.
Yeah.
I know you guys hate it.
It's the mortality rates that's the big problem. I have no problem with anyone fishing at night. It's open 24 hours. You can go out, but you can't keep a fish that's less than 15 inches. That's the rub.
I get that.
Okay, to catch fish, but when I go out trolling the next day and there's 27 rainbow trout on the surface that haven't yet been eaten by the birds, I don't know that that's probably the best policy. But again, it's hard to police it. It's open to the public and it's open 24 hours, and
if we were able to just catch our 6 15-inch trout and they didn't survive, we'd put them in the cooler and probably go home. But you got to pick through 15 9-inch ones before you get a keeper. That's the main problem.
So I think
a lot of the fish are like 13, 14 inches now. I'm catching,
they're a little short. They're always they're enough to get you in trouble at the boat launch.
So
exactly. Yep.
I'm never going to agree to more rules. So I'm trying to think of a better way to do this because I do agree with you guys.
Stock bigger fish.
Huh?
Whatever the keeper size is what the minimum size has to be stocked.
Well, I was going to say that maybe they should consider not stocking fish that are under whatever the keeper minimum is. That's one option. Maybe it's not viable. I don't know. Another option might be for, they pick those 3 or 4 summer months, and for those months, maybe they lower the minimum size. And then, but even after you do that, no matter what, and for a lot of other things, you have to kind of hope and count on the anglers to be responsible, at least the majority of them, which hopefully they are, and not all of them are. But, in other words, if I don't want to keep 4 trout in my cooler, I'm not going to go out here and do this because I know they're going to die anyway. Or if once I get those whatever amount of trout I'm not going to waste that I actually want to keep, I then stop doing that rather than keep doing it and killing more. Things like that. But
yeah,
I don't know.
It's good,
it's
Chris.
tough.
It's been going on forever. There's no secret to the evening fishery in the summertime at Round Valley.
I actually read that in a book that I bought from Barnes and Noble that was written by
Andy Still.
What was the guy's name?
Andy Still wrote that book.
What was his name? He wrote all kinds of books.
Manny Lufquist, right?
Manny Lufquist. Yeah, it was his book.
Yeah. Yes.
And I read his book, and
On-
in the book, it said exactly
Right.
what campsite number to anchor off of. And
Right.
it had everything. I copied it from the book, and I went out there and I caught like 90 fish. I was like, "Is it this guy's?" The dude was, and he put it in a book.
Yes, he did.
Oh,
It was
well.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, Mike. Have you ever combined the two? Because I know this is one of the most effective tactics I've ever used for a lot of different things is trolling with the live bait, like slow trolling the live bait.
Yeah. So slow troll and live bait, yes, it's deadly. I will tell you, it's delicate. You need to really pay attention. Slow troll and live bait involves checking to make sure it's still alive. Okay.
Yeah.
If it dies, you're going to have something that looks like a helicopter underwater, and it almost looks like a weapon. Okay?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Generally speaking, they don't hit weapons. So,
And if you don't have 8 barrel swivels on your line, that you might as well just cut it all off.
right. So it's a deadly way to catch lake trout year round. But generally speaking, like Round Valley as an example, you're playing roulette with the bottom. Okay. You have to be close. I really think the window of opportunity with most lake trout in Round Valley is somewhere between 3 to 4 feet off the bottom, if not ticking the bottom with what it is that you're putting in front of them. They're inherently very lazy fish, lakers. Round Valley may have the most lazy fish, but they fight great when you catch them. You are going to lose equipment. You're going to lose lures. You're going to lose rigs. You're going to lose a lot of stuff if you're fishing the right way, and you have to be prepared for that.
Do you feel like your spoon has to be way farther back behind the ball on Round Valley than on Merrill Creek?
So I'll give you an insight. I stopped fishing down riggers 10 years ago. Okay.
Really?
Oh, wow. All right.
Yeah, I don't even fish riggers anymore. These fish have seen so many rigger balls. And I'm not saying people don't catch them on riggers. That they do work. But you see an 8-pound, 10-pound ball go past your head as a trout, and you were caught, 2 weeks earlier from a spoon that was, 48 feet behind the ball. You're probably going to think twice about hitting that again. Guys who are successful with riggers, it's 100+ feet behind the ball for the most part, which is pretty far.
See, at Round Valley, I have to do that. Like it's 100 feet or more.
Yeah, right.
But at other lakes, I don't seem to have to do it. Like it could be 30 feet, 40 feet. Not like Round Valley seems to be the only place that has to be so far behind the ball.
And
it comes down to just how clear that water is, Joe. I mean, it's gin clear. You probably should be back 125 to 150 feet, to be effective. If you fish Spruce Run or maybe a reservoir, that the murkier it is, the less clear it is, the shorter your leader or your behind the ball you can go. You could go 15, 20 feet in some cases.
And so, like,
wait,
I don't know.
So
correct me if
when you troll Spruce Run for hybrids, you're not trolling live bait.
I am.
Oh, you are.
I am.
Okay.
Yes.
Gotcha.
I was gonna go there too because
now you've opened up a can of worms where I was gonna let him go. Now he's here for 3 hours because now I got a lot of questions.
I don't care.
Shiners versus herring, Mike. Is it worth the way out of the way for the herring? Me and Dwayne kind of did this on Tilcon one time where we did him with shiners and me with herring, and I think I caught 9 fish and he caught 8.
Right.
But if I'm driving all the way out to Spruce Run, I have no confidence in shiners at all. Like it's too far from me. Like I'm bringing herring. Okay. Is that a mistake?
It's not a mistake, provided you can keep them alive, Joe. Because I prefer herring too, but they're very delicate. Between a shiner and a herring, you're dealing with something that's essentially 3 times more likely to die within the first half hour than a shiner that'll probably be alive if you don't catch anything for 3 hours.
It's 3 times cheaper too.
Well, probably.
Yeah,
If you have that magic touch to keep a herring alive while trolling and its mouth doesn't open and helicopter, you are going to be better off. That profile, that's what they want. It's a little bit larger, but it comes down to how that fish, if you can keep it alive on the troll, which is a job, you need to pay attention, checking lines constantly. You're going to be better off with herring, in my opinion. Okay.
now if you now reverse that to Round Valley, the
Yep.
shiners will outfish herring, correct?
So the shiners, in Round Valley, I've done both, but I will tell you the shiners will take the lower temperature at the deeper sections of Round Valley better than what a herring will. Okay, a herring is just gonna either freeze up or it's gonna die and start flipping on you if you're going live rigs. Okay.
And so with Dow's on Lake Hopatcong being the only place in New Jersey or the area, I don't know what the next closest place is in Pennsylvania, New York, where you can get herring. But
I have some feedback on that, Chris.
what was that?
I have a little feedback on that. Dow's is actually wholesaling herring to Highway Sports in Washington now.
Oh, is that
What?
Really?
Yeah, this year. Yeah.
How much
so
are they by the time they get to Highway Sports? Like
I think they're
19 a dozen?
more around $1 a piece. I don't really look too hard, but they're like the price of everything in America. It's gone up,
Oh,
But
yeah.
essentially, he's going up and grabbing them in a truck, an aerated truck, bringing them to his place, and that's
Yeah.
the only other place that I know, because for Lake Hopatcong, that's an hour drive for me to go up just to get bait, and
Yep.
Yeah, I
not
have to
And that must be like an agreement, because obviously the guy's going to pick them up himself. They're not even
Right.
delivering them.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so but that's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah, I'm
They've-
glad you mentioned that, because I had not heard of that yet, and that's very convenient. Obviously they're going to be a couple more bucks at Highway than they are at Dow's, but it's worth it because for me to drive, I live near Round Valley. For me to drive all the way up there and get herring, and then drive all the way back to fish
Right.
one of the reservoirs, it's crazy. Like I was making plans to see my parents up near Byram just to pick up the bait. My parents would be like, "Oh, you've been coming around more often lately." Yeah, I miss you guys. Meanwhile, I got a cooler full of herring in their family room. Yeah, that's good to know. I'm glad you brought that up. I had not heard of that.
Yeah, so the only reason was 2 reasons. He has the ability to put it in his truck. He's doing the transportation because there's no one that delivers bait in New Jersey really
Right.
anymore. It's very difficult. And then secondarily, Dow's is wholesaling because they're netting enough herring this year. So this is brand new this year. He has them. It's convenient for me as well, and it's good. It's a good option. It is expensive though. Live bait is not cheap. No question.
It's worth it, though.
It is worth it at times, though. I spent a couple of years trolling lures for the hybrids on Spruce Run in the summer season, and I did pretty well. I felt like I was keeping up with the guys who were trolling bait for those couple of seasons. Maybe not quite as much success, but enough that I was sticking to it and I wasn't going out of my way to get the live bait. Then this past year, last summer, I couldn't do anything with the lures. I couldn't do anything with the lures, no matter what lures I tried, no matter which speed I tried, where I put them, how fast or slow I went. I couldn't do anything with the lures, and I had to go back to the bait. I don't know what happened. I was kind of hoping you've tried the lures rather than the bait too and had some success, so you could shed some light on this for me, because I'm baffled by it.
I have a story. So about 6 years ago, I trolled for 2 weeks straight on Spruce Run. This is non-guided trips. This is me just screwing around doing some mad scientist stuff on the reservoir. So
Yeah.
I troll. My normal setup is 6 rods on Spruce Run. I don't want to go any more than that. I actually troll with spin rods, so they're really light action. Because these hybrids are a ton of fun when you hook up with them. They're just
Oh yeah.
really can't control them. It's total chaos, which I love. My point is, I had on one side of the boat, which I do this all the time, I did all lures, okay? And I did all live bait on the other. And over the course of 2 weeks, I caught over 80 hybrids on live bait, and I caught 3 on lures. That told me everything I needed to know on what these fish actually.
Wait. But
Okay?
if I'm trolling live bait, I'm going a completely different speed than if I'm trolling lures.
Well, this is true, but if I'm trolling slow, I can troll a jointed Rapala, and it's got a lot of action, right? I'm not trolling with stick bait. So, again, I'm putting stuff out there that actually looks real, and man, oh man, they didn't want it. And I'm talking about going through the same school where all 3 rods on the right side were going off, and I couldn't get the other side to do one single hit.
So I'm just going to spill all my secrets about it, because as far as I'm concerned, it's never going to work again and you have to use bait now. But there was really only two lures that consistently worked for me, and they were scatter wrap. I don't know if you use that trolling. It's really awesome trolling lure because it just randomly blows out like a fish in a panic mode. And these flat wing flies that you jig as you go.
Okay.
And the scatter wraps would get hit most of the time first. And if the jigging fly didn't get hit, when I'd slow the boat down, I'd reel it in really fast. And I found this out by accident. When I was burning the fly in, not jigging it, just burning it in to get it back in, that would get crushed a lot of the times too. And I don't know, I used to troll pretty fast too. I want to say it probably over 2.2, 2.4, almost like I'm trolling for salmon. And I don't know, it just worked for a couple of years for me, and I was like, this is great. I don't have to go buy live bait. And then it just stopped working. I had to go back to live bait. But nobody who didn't come with me believes me.
I don't believe it.
Katie was out with me when it worked.
I've seen those hybrids chase stuff right to the boat when you're reeling it in quick. I have seen that. I mean, they're almost jealous feeders. You get one on, it's like having a mahi offshore. You want to keep it in the water, you know? Yeah. And the rest of them, I'm convinced their lateral lines pick up the movement, and they're just jealous. They're, somebody else is eating and they're not. So where is it? And let me grab it. So I think that's you get more than one on pretty frequently.
Right place, right time.
Yeah. I don't know. Look, I mean, people witnessed it when I did it. Like, it did work. Katie witnessed it.
All right, we believe
Mark Mercer witnessed it. Mark Mercer, I know you're watching this. Back me up, bud.
Back him up. We have to let him. We've kept him for an hour and 6 minutes now.
Yeah, you're the longest. We've kept you on longer.
He's
than
the
any
longest guest in the history of the show. You gotta let him go.
Hold on. There was one thing he told me he wanted to say. It was some kind of special, I don't know what, a contraption or a tool or something that you got from Lowe's. Yeah.
So, I mean, this is for the guys that troll a lot. I'm gonna give you something here. So most guys troll these things, right? These offshore boards.
That's mine. Chris lost one of those on me.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, they're expensive. They're like $50 now.
Oh, I know.
So they're spring loaded, right? You got the spring on the back. The flag goes down when you get a fish. They come with springs that look like this, right? They're really weak. Okay. You can put your spring down on the bottom for more tension, so on and so forth. These, I replace all of these springs with upgraded springs, and I usually buy all of them at Lowe's. Okay, so no one else can do this, but I'm going to give it to your viewers.
Sharing this, but nobody can do it because Mike.
No, they're back in stock. So look at this. Okay, take all your offshore boards, replace them with these springs. What is that going to do? You can put this on the lowest level and you could troll 7, 8, 9, 10 colors of lead core, and your flag is not going to be like this without having a fish on. Okay. You've got maybe you have a crankbait that's got a lot of resistance, and you got a long line lead core. Most of them, when you put them out with all that resistance, the flag's going to go down like this.
Yeah.
So you're going to troll it around like it looks like you got a fish on, but it's only the weight of the line and the weight of the lure. Replace the springs, and you can go with long line lead core. You could go with like big build crankbaits. You could go with a lot of other stuff, and that flag's going to stay straight up like this, and you'll still see it when you get a fish. So that's my tip for your.
That's Mike's hack. Mike, we want to thank you so much for taking the time to come on here. Obviously, Yellow Dog Paddle on Instagram, Facebook, and everywhere else where you'd want to look for them. You have anything else you want to plug before you go?
That's it, man. I appreciate it, and congratulations on all your success, guys.
What's it?
Thank you. Yeah, thanks.
I'm just kidding.
Joe said,
Mike, thank you so much, man.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right, have a good night.
Take care, Mike.
Really just pick his brain because he seems to know like a lot of the stuff I'm kind of struggling. There's so many trolling. It sounds so easy because you're just like driving forward, dragging shit, but it's so involved. It's just insane.
Yeah, and that's and I've heard it said, and like I said, I'm guilty of this as I'm coming up learning the different tactics and stuff, especially like saltwater for striper fishing in the bay. Right, you're there. You're fishing. A lot of the times you'll see where the fish are. You'll have the birds diving. You pull up onto them. You start casting top waters or like subsurface lures or even a spoon to drop down into the bait ball or whatever. And a lot of these guys will troll through the feeding fish and ruin it.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I think that gives trolling a bad name. But really, it's just those anglers aren't paying. I mean, they're not paying attention.
Well, you've seen it like on there's rods everywhere. There's duct tape on them. Everyone's numbered. They go in a corresponding. They have to go in the right rod holder.
Yeah,
it's very complex just to draw it up on paper. It's not that easy.
My point is to someone who doesn't do it or doesn't understand exactly what's happening, they see these guys just like trolling through diving birds, and it gives trolling a bad rap, I think. And I was guilty of it too. I was like, trolling, like whatever, who needs it? But over time, you realize, I mean, if you want to become a better angler, you realize that it is the best tactic. Just like Chuck Manning.
I think saltwater trolling is a lot less involved than freshwater. Freshwater trolling is just so ridiculously involved, and I got 9 reels, and everyone has a different color lead core. Like saltwater is just like put the mojo on and drop it till it hits the bottom and drive. It's not as
well. No, I think I don't think that's really true. I think it's what you make it to be. If you want it to be, I'm going to put 2 rods out with 2 mojo rigs and just bounce them on the bottom, slowly driving around and hope for the best, then that's what it is. If you want to take it up a level, you start figuring things out. Maybe you do a couple different things, put a couple of other rods out. If you want to be the best striper fisherman in the freaking world, you do what Chuck Manny does, right?
There's drift deals, yeah. Drift deals. But honestly, there's boats surrounding. There's boats all around Chuck Manny doing the same shit, catching nothing. So there's some kind of magic going on.
Well, that's my point. It's like all other fishing. It can be whatever you want it to be, but if you want to be as successful as humanly possible, you have to take it to that level.
Yeah,
and that level is not easy. It's not just throwing your shit out the sides on planer boards and driving around.
That was a professional guide right there, Mike Herman, that just said, like, he started off as a fly fisherman. He primarily trolls lures for trout, but he just said it. When he goes to Spruce Run to troll for hybrids, he trolls live bait. Why does he do that? Because it's the most effective way. He's there to catch fish. He's not there to pound his fists on his chest and say, "Oh, I caught it on a new Guggen worm that I bought at Dick's today. It was unbelievable." It doesn't matter. He just wants to
look,
catch the fish.
If it matters to the person doing it, then so be it. But
then, but keep it to yourself.
Well,
Don't
yeah,
bash. No,
well,
don't bash my fish because I didn't use a Guggen worm. That's your bullshit.
Yeah, I think the people just need to understand that most
he will
other
use
people,
as he changes bodies of water, he's going to switch to the most effective way of catching fish. That's the point of fishing.
Hey man, I agree with you, but some people don't want to fish that way. They would rather say, "Hey, I tied
because
this
their friend
fly."
made fun of them.
No, because that's like they just I don't know. They have these goals in their head that they want to achieve, and that's totally cool. Like,
their
hey,
friend with a Bill Dance hat made fun.
I tied this fly with a combination of pubic hair from my dog's balls and my wife's mustache. I want to catch a fish on it.
I tie flies. I love fly fish, and I catch fish on my own flies all the time. That's awesome. But when I go to Spruce Run, I'm trolling live herring. That's what I'm doing. That's what works.
Someone made a good point recently. I forget where or who it was, but they said, like, what's the difference between if I go to the bait shop and I buy live bait because I want to use it to catch fish? Okay. What's the difference between that? Or if I go to the same bait shop and I buy a fly that someone else made because it matches whatever whatever the trout are eating and I want to use it. What's really the difference? You're buying.
They're personal. They're just personal. I once shot a pheasant. I then took the pheasant tail, tied a pheasant tail nymph, and then caught a trout with it. And I have I have the fly on my shelf because, like, I hunted that bird and then made the bird into it. Like, to me, it's awesome. To everyone watching, it's just a piece of shit. No one cares. But
well, no, if you tell them the story, then they'll probably think it's cool. But
my point is, I'm not gonna bash you.
Right.
You could do anything. Like Max was so happy about catching that bullhead. I'm not gonna bash him. It's whatever. He likes bullheads. I don't know what to say.
I'm gonna mock him because it's hilarious. But
we could mock him, yeah. But we're not gonna bash. He likes bullheads. He was proud he caught it. That's his thing.
Totally agree.
Oh, he didn't catch that on a Guggen worm. It's illegitimate.
Taking shots at Guggen worms.
That's just bass bullshit. Well, who's the guest next week?
Next week we have I'm not even going to use his real name because nobody knows him as his real name. We got Lord Almighty.
Lord Almighty. I don't even know his real name. I don't really even want to know his name because I like knowing him as Lord Almighty.
Lord Almighty is such a cool name. I agree with you. I don't want to.
Lord Almighty has been a very big supporter of the podcast since day one. He's recommended many guests to the show. Yeah. We appreciate his contribution. And next week, he'll be coming on here to talk to us, so that'll be cool. We have to go because this episode's been way too long. I think it might be one of the longest ones ever. I want to play video games, and I have work tomorrow. So, Chris, please do your thing.
I have nothing left to say, Joe. I can't wait to talk to Lord Almighty next week. And he's got an awesome YouTube channel. And I don't even know what we're going to talk about, but I know it's going to be entertaining. Stay safe out there. This heat is crazy. Stay hydrated, but don't stop fishing. Keep suffering through the heat, catching those fish. Chris Pereira out. Bobbers rule.
I love bobbers.